Hello there, welcome to Critic AL Reviews. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Nosferatu. A couple of nights ago I watched the first Nosferatu from 1922. 12 hours later I watched the new version made 100 years later at the movies. That's got to be some kind of record. I won't dwell upon the 1922 version too much other than to compare it to the new version now and again, but suffice to say, for one of the first films ever made, I rather enjoyed it. If one considers a motion picture's aim to be to entertain and evoke emotions and feelings, I found it to be charming and engaging. It wasn't in the slightest scary, but then people back in 1922 hadn't been desensitised by decades of horror films like I have. I imagine back then that it was utterly terrifying. Anyway, skipping forward a century and over other adaptations of what is, after all, a Dracula rip-off, we have the new iteration from lauded director Robert Eggers, starring a number of veteran actors, some of which have been recently lambasted for performances, Johnny Depp's daughter, and a new contemporary lick of paint. Before I continue though, your spoiler-free plot summary. Newlywed solicitor Thomas Hutter is sent to Transylvania by his company to complete the sale of a house. His client, Count Orlok, is looking to retire to Hutter's hometown of Visburg and has requested a meeting beforehand in his castle. Upon arriving, Hutter is unsettled and then horrified when he discovered the Count's true nature. Let's start with the technical aspects. Eggers has already established himself as an accomplished director, with a number of celebrated films such as The Lighthouse and The Northman. Nosferatu is no exception. Every frame is a treat, expertly crafted to evoke, to stir. No shot is chosen at random, no perspective is by accident. It is a visual ambient treat and unsettling to the extreme at times. There were also homages to the original, which despite its limitations did some amazing work with light and shadow. The cinematography is also amazing, moody and dim, candles flickering, shadows suggesting concealed horrors at the edges of the screen. Sound design is also incredible and oppressive, while high strings replace the largely operatic motifs of the original. It's grating, harsh and immediate. Moving on to the story. As one would expect from a century of cultural change, the plot, while broadly keeping to the same beats of the original, has some significant alterations and expansion. Not least of this is a major boost to the role of Ellen, the object of Nosferatu's desires. Now she is an independent, willful psychic with a troubled past, mentally ill, and generally an absolute hassle to everyone as Nosferatu imposes his influence over her. While this does give the generally impressive Lily Rose Depp an opportunity to add some physicality to her performance as she writhes and contorts as if she were possessed, it does rather bloat the story and contribute to some of the problems that arise in the narrative. Elsewhere, embellishments are made to Thomas Hutter's adventures in Transylvania, to mixed effect. It rather undermines the character when he experiences and is warned in such visceral and extreme ways before he even sets foot in Count Orlok's castle. I actually think the original handled this better, with the warnings being much easier to dismiss as primitive folklore by the naive and innocent Hutter in one of the film's more charming moments. Some of this is necessary in order to add stakes and is understandable, but once again it really does add to an overstuffed film that's the wrong side of 2 hours, in my opinion. Now, let's be clear, the original is, dependent on the version that you watch, up to an hour and 20 minutes shorter than this film, and has less words. After all, it is a silent movie, don't you know, with any exposition and dialogue being delivered by text, than the script for this review. But I can't help but feel that a little like The Northman before it, some trimming would have been a good idea. It seems a little indulgent in places. The second half of the movie has some rather major pacing issues. Still, for the most part, it works. Everything is as it should be, and aside from one moment where Ellen confronts the Orlok in a eye-raising, if not eye-rolling put-down, there are no girl-boss moments, and 19th century Germany is much as you expect it to be. Let's just say that this film might not quite meet the Oscar nomination criteria for diversity. It's all very well done, and there were no moments of cringe that took me out of my rapt immersion. Bravo! There may be a few elements of the girl who's the key to everything here, but honestly, I have no major complaints with the way that the story is presented. It could be argued that this review is getting a bit bloated itself, so let's get on to the performances. I can't cover everyone, there are just too many characters, so I'll just focus on the mains. Poor Nicholas Hoult doesn't really have much luck with vampires, does he? After his hilarious turn in Renfield as the titular thrall to
Nick fucking Whoa, Cage!
Wonderfully OTT Dracula, he now finds himself at the mercy of Bill Skarsgaard, Transylvanian Count. Hoult is fast becoming an actor I'll watch in anything, here adding another fine performance and showing his range. A far cry from his zany comedy quips in Renfield, here he plays the serious, dutiful husband and earnest employee to perfection, with a full gamut of emotions explored. His scenes with Skarsgård are particularly compelling. Speaking of Skarsgård, for someone who earned my Worst Actor of 2024 award for his bold performance in The Crow, here he is the complete opposite. This is his wheelhouse, playing monsters, although that is far from the only thing that he can do. From the creepy yet plausibly eccentric Count Orlok to the horrifyingly bestial Nosferatu, this is Skarsgård at his best, from his rattling accented rumble to his pure physicality. Awesome stuff. Also redeeming himself is Aaron Taylor-Johnson, reviled as Craven, but here putting in a decent, if unremarkable performance as Frederick Harding. I'm not sure that Germans use the expression capital all that much though. I'm pretty sure that's a British thing. He and Hoult would be my picks for the next James Bond, and it was interesting watching them share a screen together here for what is, to my recollection, the first time. Eggers' favourite Willem Dafoe also features and delivers exactly what you expect. He seems to be having a lot of fun here, you can tell. Finally, Lily Rose Depp as Ellen Hutter, a dutiful wife plagued by delusions, hallucinations and episodes of mania. Lily really goes for it here, giving us a performance that borders on the absurd at times, though it could be argued that nobody in this film is exactly subtle. There's a theatrical element to everything that's presented. I was genuinely scratching my head at times, trying to work out if I was watching a truly great performance or some extreme scenery chewing. Maybe it was both. Either way, it's compelling and committed. Nobody puts in a bad shift here. It just goes to show what can be achieved with a director who knows how to get the best out of his actors. I can't really end this review without discussing Vampine Gate. Yes, there was a vampire Willy in this film. Hoult said it was prosthetic, and he ended up taking it home. Then again, there's plenty of female nudity in this film as well, so there's a bit of something for everyone. In fact, it's rather erotically charged in many places, putting one in mind of Coppola's Dracula from 1992 somewhat, without the dodgy British accents, thankfully. Final thoughts. Nosferatu is a great way to kick off the British 2025 film calendar, a sublimely crafted horror movie with expert directing, wonderful performances and a compelling narrative. It could be argued certainly that the film is bloated with a notably lethargic and oddly paced second half, but this seems to be down to the indulgent, auteur nature of Eggers. The expanded female role is, for the most part, well handled, without becoming some preachy mouthpiece, and although I certainly would have excised around 20 minutes of material from the movie and made a couple of minor changes here and there, it's not my movie, and I have no real issues with what I have been presented with. It's a great contemporary version of a knockoff of a classic, and although it is notably lacking the charm that 1922 version has, one has to wonder how this movie would be regarded in a century from now. A film that I would happily rewatch any time. Nosferatu is at the very least an actual movie, a passionate cinematic work of expression, rather than a soulless rights retainer or cash grab film. Mr. Eggers is added to the list of directors that I eagerly await news of for his new project, and I give Nosferatu a hearty recommendation. Check it out. Thanks for watching. I've been Critic AL, and I'll be back with another movie review soon.